You all for coming. Sadly, there appear to be quite a few people who said they were coming. Hopefully nothing untoward has happened, and a few people who've dropped out. So we're looking a little bit light. It is a relatively informal day. Please just feel if you need to get up and empty, then the loos are directly over at the corridor. There will be some breaks during the day, so you'll be able to refill. You get it, refill, empty. And a very nice lunch will be served at lunchtime in our restaurant. So it's not the buffet thing. I'd like you to sit down and ruminate and discuss and collaborate. So hopefully you'll find this a really, really useful day. So the question is, why maths and English? And clearly a lot of us are sitting here delivering study programmes and finding that meeting condition of funding is a massive challenge. And at the moment, there is nothing to suggest that condition of funding and the forced resits are going away. So it is what it is. For some of you, I know that you're sitting there and you've had Ofsted in. So congratulations, Lily. A good Ofsted outcome. That's a secret, by the way. But some people are actually not in the fortunate position of going through. We won't be seeing Ofsted for a few years. Some of you have still got monitoring visits, and so we need to share the experiences and share the good practice. Talking about condition of funding, I certainly have been involved with talking to DFE through the AOC, and basically saying that this one-size policy does not fit every student. And I remain hopeful that the government will actually get in who have a pair and go, do you know what? Maybe that wasn't the right policy. Maybe it should be flexed. Now, I will put it to you. If that happened before the start of the next academic year, if somebody turned around and went, condition of funding does not have to be a forced GCSE resit, it should be the right maths and English qualification for the student, have you got a strategy ready to go? Would you know what you were going to do? And I would urge you to at least have it in the back of your mind. So we've already been discussing that and talking about the fact that actually if a student is on an applied general qualification, if they are coming in to enrol on a level 3 extended diploma, then probably a GCSE resit is the right qualification for them, unless they have a specific learning need. But if they're doing a technical qualification, would a functional skill offer more flexibility and be more appropriate in terms of the style of learning for that particular young person? So I'd ask you to talk about it and to think about it and continue to pressure MPs, government, whoever you can get hold of, to basically say the condition of funding policy is not the best. It's anything where a GCSE resit grade achievement rate is 20%. That's not good. You know, nobody can go pat on the back. We, as West Suffolk College, have maths which is at 32% and English which exceeds 50%. Now, if we're being told you've done really well for a GCSE resits for across the whole college, then actually we're deluding ourselves, because 50 odd percent as a GCSE A star to C resit achievement rate is not good. We need more ambition. We need the right qualifications for students. So think on that. Hopefully there are people in this room and you will begin to talk, and we have the collective answers amongst us. There will be things that are working for you that actually you could share with somebody else. It might work for them. And fundamentally, it is because we want to make a difference in the maths and English ability of our students. It isn't as in the old days where it's, here you go, have another qualification that accredits you for the skills that you've already got. We actually need to take them on a journey, move and improve their maths and English ability, so that they actually go out of our colleges and our provision, and they have got better in terms of those skills. I just wanted to make a point because for those of you that do follow me on social media, I'm always making a point. There have been no Ofsted outstanding FE colleges since February 2015, which funnily enough is just before the national achievement rates were published for GCSE A to C compulsory resits. I mean, does anybody spot a theme? And to be perfectly honest, Paul Joyce, who's Deputy Director for Ofsted for FE, he agrees that the policy isn't right, but we can't moan about it because this is the policy that we're having to deliver to. We have to do something about it and understand what it is that is not working when we are only getting very low GCSE A to C resits. So, that is the key point I would like you to be thinking about throughout the day. There's going to be loads of others and hopefully some really cracking stuff for you to take back. But it seems unlikely the policy will change, but if you could change it, what would you do? Have you got a policy ready to go in your organisation? I spoke to some colleges only last week and they went, well, it's too late. It's too late to change it. You know, we're FE. We're agile. We move like the wind. Of course we can change it. We can change things in minutes. We don't need a lead-in of an academic year. If you have the option, know what you're going to do. Create the strategy and then you can actually start talking about it in your organisations. The key thing about today is that we participate and we collaborate. For those of you that joined us at the last time that we did this, this isn't about West Suffolk College. If you like, we are the hosts and we're delighted to have you. This is about you sharing your best practice, and I'm delighted today that there are a number of people from outside of the college who have agreed to contribute and to talk about some of the work that they do. So hopefully you will find this really stimulating. From the last time that we met, we took the work that you created and we have done two things. We've created a website called allaboutme.wsc.ac.uk. It is on the bottom of every piece of material that we've handed you, so don't lose it. Some of you, if you follow us on social media, I know that last time at the conference, Julia went for a tinkle and took a picture of the poster on the back of the loo door and tweeted it because it was basically reinforcing the importance of maths and English. You can download those posters that we've made, which are really aimed at students just to cajole them in terms of our whole college approach. Take the posters, print them, put them up, use them. If it's helpful, go for it. So there's lots of resources to download, including the slides from the previous conference, including some exemplars of things like the reports that we've developed that might just give you an idea about some of the things you might want in terms of progress and tracking, etc. And then, just as a bit of a sweetener, there's this nice little good practice guide that I hope you'll take away, which is just really your starter for 10, just to wet your whistle. And to be perfectly honest, it also means that we've got our good practice guide out, and it really reflects the combined brain power of the organisations that joined us at the last time that we met. I would ask that you do tweet throughout the day. It is hashtag WSCLOME, so it's leadership of maths and English, because I do believe that maths and English, it all begins with you as leaders and how you work. Oh, more slides.
What for you introduction?
Yeah.
Just
Hey?
Just do for later into the next one.
Because I thought have you got the competition?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So please tweet, use that hashtag, and then it comes up on the tweet wall at the back.
There you go, some competition there. Can you do the competition?
Oh, yes, well you can. I'm going to hand over to the delightful Trevor. Trevor is our Director of Maths and English, and he, together with Debbie, who's over here, They manage all of the maths and English. Trevor takes more of a lead on the study programmes and Debbie on adult. And the other thing was just to make the point that we are actually going to video this and post it. So please, whatever you think of the Maths and English Condition of Funding policy, no expletives. Have a smashing day, and I hope you get loads out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have the unenviable job of following Lindsay. On your tables you will see that there is a quiz sheet, which is the news in 12 questions. Prior to lunchtime, if you can circle the answers that you think are correct, and then there's a box at the back there just underneath the Twitter feed, the right back of the room. If you can pop your name on your entry, put your completed entry in that box, that would be absolutely fantastic. Winners, just like last time, will be decided over lunchtime. This time the caption competition will become our tiebreaker question. So please do not ignore the tiebreaker question. And so that will be the caption competition. So completed entries in the back.
You're going to tell people why you're leaving?
Oh, Ofsted.
I know, our hearts are bleeding.
Oh, God. Thank you.
I know, but this is the sector in which we live. So everybody, there's collaborative love for Essex County Council.
I'm so looking forward to today as well. I really enjoyed the last one.
Where are you from? What college?
Essex, adult community learning in Essex. So we didn't do very well last time. So this is our second. We've had a monitoring visit, and so this is the one we're going to be judged on now. So. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, Amanda. We'll be in touch. And good luck. Thank you.
Bye and good luck.
Bye everyone, thank you.
Okay, blimey, let's keep fingers crossed. So, just like previously, and as Lindsay's already indicated, we've got several guest speakers that are going to be joining throughout the sessions today, some internal, some external. I'm delighted to say that in a few minutes you'll hear from Piers Alexander. Piers is our GCSE English course director, and we'll talk to you practically around some of the strategies that we've developed and he uses on a day-to-day basis in the class. So the first of the presentations today is really focusing on our cross-college teaching and learning strategies. Okay, so you'll see within the guide that there's a whole section on quality of teaching and learning, and that includes our cross-college framework for teaching and learning. And from the previous conference, it's one of the aspects that we've been asked to talk about the most. So we're going to spend a few minutes this morning really covering that in much more detail. Again, there's some resources that we can share today, actually as part of the presentation, and then make available once you've all completed your feedback from today. Get an automated email that will open up the whole plethora of additional resources from the day. We'll then start to hear from Piers about how and what he uses on a day-to-day basis with the students, and really started from how we collaborate in terms of our schemes of work as an English team in this case, but the same applies for maths, and how we actually use our scheme of work and how the milestones really fit into a very thorough feedback process and the loop that actually creates for the students. And he's going to finish off by telling you about some of the really innovative things that he's done to really create some very powerful reflective moments for students, and how that's fed through into increased performance for the students he looks after. The other thing you'll notice is there are flip charts around the room. Each one of you as a table will be required to do some input. That's how we collected all of the good practice that went into the guide previously. So throughout the day there'll be some presentations where we'll stop and we'll pause, and we really want to collect the thoughts of the collective. So at that point, please feel free to make use of the whiteboards, and if you really need to, go and fill up and do whatever else you need to do. So, C-SPAR. C-SPAR is our cross-college approach to teaching and learning. What it does do, and what it really means, and what it gives us a really solid foundation of, is the same approach to teaching and learning is adopted throughout the whole college. This isn't an approach that applies just to maths and English teachers, or when you hear from Rachel, who looks after healthcare and early years, just to her particular cohort of students and particular staff groups, or anyone else in the room from West Suffolk College. It is an approach that really is very, very focused. Now, the C-SPAR comes from the, or the acronym C-SPAR comes from the way that the framework, the model is put together. So the C for connect, the S for share, the P for present, apply and recall and review. So there's, let me just pull this up for you. You had a preview of Bananarama then, Julia. It's important to say that the C-SPAR model, the actual framework, came from a piece of work in 2014 from the Learning Consortium, which Sue, I'm right in thinking, was an ETF-funded project. And it really brought together a whole range of learning theories to mesh together and to come together and to form a framework that works across the sector here, but in all learning organisations. The links that you will receive from today will take you directly to the C-SPAR model, so you'll be able to have a look and really absorb the framework in much, much more detail. So what we're going to do today is just touch on some of the theory behind what we do and actually show you some of the practical applications of C-SPAR actually in action. The fundamental thing with the framework that we use is that when students come into the class, they are expected to be work ready from the moment they walk through the door. So every single session will start with what's called a connect activity. And again, Rachel's going to talk a bit more about how she uses those connect activities in the next presentation. But for example, it could well be that in GCSE English classes, we start the lesson with the quiz of the week. It could well be in the maths classes we start with what's called a bread and butter activity to really build those fundamental skills within the students, start to get the students thinking. So, as I said before, really when the students walk in the door, they're not thinking, what do I do with my bag, where do I put everything? No, they're going straight down to their desk to start work. They know and expect that there's going to be work for them to actually get on with and to do. Then as we move through the cycle, we then start to build some structure to the lesson, so the students know exactly what's expected of them. They know how they're going to contribute to the lesson. They know as we move through to the present and the apply, we're going to be building on what now fits in with problem solving skills, and it's the perfect link to the new specification GCSE. The framework itself is really, really useful, but right at the centre of the framework really is, for me, the key aspect of the framework. It's all about making sure that students are very actively involved in the lessons that we actually teach them and have got a really important, significant part to play. One of the reasons we wanted to include the flip charts in the conferences both today and previously is because it models lots of the work that we do with our students on a day-to-day basis. In every maths and English room, there are whiteboards plastered around the room. And the reason for that is when we get to the point where we've presented some new ideas to the students, we've got them engaged, and our focus all the way through this is creating a learning environment that encourages that engagement. We actually get the students to apply the skills that they've just learned in a very different way to school. And again, our big focus all the way through, when we're talking about teaching and learning, particularly with regards to maths and English, the students have come here and have had potentially 11 years, sometimes 3 or 4 goes at sitting the GCSE Maths and English exam. We cannot do the same things that they've done at school. It has to be very different. It has to be very engaging. So as I said, once we presented some new ideas and get to the apply stage, what we very often do is use the whiteboards that are around the room so that students are actively engaged in working together in groups, in actually creating ideas in that kind of group environment, and where we actually encourage proper collaboration. So very often the students will work in groups and they'll move around from one group to another and use different colour pens. So it's, again, from a teaching and learning point of view, it's very easy to see which group has contributed what, and it's very easy for that teacher in that classroom to actually get a sense of what the students have learned and what they haven't. And again, this comes back to what was referred to in the centre there as higher order thinking skills when the framework was created, but instead really creates that neat package that focuses very much on the problem solving skills that we all know in this room is the key focus of the new specification GCSE for both maths and English. One of the ways that we'll present information and start to get the students to apply, again focusing on doing things differently from what students have been through at school, is to give them information and actually ask them to tell us the correct answer. So Deb, would you mind just flipping that whiteboard down? So, in terms of a practical idea, something that again we do on a day-to-day basis that came out from a conference around 18 months ago with an organisation called Complete Mathematics, who you'll hear from later. We went to a workshop, and one of the theories that was divulged at that workshop, and something that we brought back and we said we use on a daily basis now, is the theory which we know as this is it, this is not it. So as I said before, we are really getting the students to think hopefully very differently to how they were taught at school. So very often we'll actually show them a problem and actually give them the answer, and we'll tell them that this is the right answer, and then we'll show them what's not the right answer. So a phrase that we'll often use when we're planning our lessons for both maths and English is this is it, and if you hear that today from some of the maths teachers, this is what they're talking about. So again, going back to presenting and then getting the students to work on various different problems, we do get them to think in a very different way. It allows us again to come back to the centre and the focus, which is on student engagement.